which that won't be hard for me alone. And so then the oil and gas, of course, even coming out of OPEC just about a few hours ago, uh, Prince bin Salman of OPEC had Saudi's energy minister had an interview, I think, with Bloomberg, where he said they would not phase down fossil fuels because there's some language in the coming out of the current OPEC, coming out of the current COP28 gathering, that fossil fuel nations should phase down their use of fossil fuels. And he was like, absolutely not. We're not going to agree to such language. So it looks like the real conversations that are happening. Now, as to whether or not Lagos can realistically reduce methane emissions by 45%, I think he said by 2030, we're always putting up targets. Whether or not we can meet those targets, that's a completely different story. I think they can. They just have to be serious about what they do with landfill waste.
Okay. It looks like definitely for this, you would need a law enforcer in this regard. And that takes us to, what is the Inspector General of Nigeria's police doing at the COP summit?
Well, according to a tweet that was put out yesterday, they said that the Nigerian police is going to roll out green initiatives at COP28. It's a hilarious tweet. I'm sorry. It made me laugh. And because, I mean, think about this. So you've got the Lagos State governor that is in COP at Dubai. We're having a conversation now, a real conversation about reducing methane emissions, the causes behind it. So that's a real conversation. You can understand an executive governor of a state, a subnational, going to that. But the police, I'm trying to understand what is the green initiative of the police force? In what way? Okay, so do you stop using fuel guzzling vehicles for your police fleets? Do you change them all to electric cars? Do you? I mean, help me out, two of you. I don't know. I'm really struggling. I'm trying to think of the green initiatives that police can engage in. Just, so it's things like this that make people say that the Nigerian delegation is going there for a jamboree, because I can't. I'm trying to think of what green initiatives police can engage in, and what would justify you traveling all the way there to go and tell another country how you are engaging in those green initiatives, and yet you have not, to my knowledge, have not exercised any of those initiatives here at home. So other than your police fleet of vehicles and turning them electric to reduce the carbon emissions from the cars, I can't think of anything else.
But they will be the one. But just to play the advocate here for the devil, even though I'm not the devil, but I'm just saying that. But when these decisions are made, people need to be in the room, and who knows, they might need to create a department of COP28 enforcement regulation. So if they're not there, they won't understand these things. So maybe it's just there to get to understand and bring back the message to disseminate back to these men.
Yeah. Right, but does that justify you traveling there yourself? That's my issue.
I think there could have been a few more lower ranked officials who could have attended this event. I'm certain.
Okay.
It's not about lower ranked officials. I don't know what any official from the police force is doing there. I'm just if they can justify it, because let's just logically think it through. I cannot see. I don't see where their green initiatives are.
There is a chance that, policing could also involve people being more aware of perhaps environmental management when it comes to waste and things like that. A lot of people obviously don't know the impact, and this is why it's very easy for people to toss things around on the road. So if the police who are meant to be enforcing these laws are trained, it's very likely that, just like Omar said, it could trickle down to the people. And this is just a perhaps.
Yeah, but what does the police? Lagos State already has an environmental agency. Nigeria has an environmental agency. They are the ones. We used to have environmental day on Saturdays. That's not the job of the police. That's an entirely different. So if they're the ones traveling, I get it. But again, police is to deal with crime and all these other things. I just cannot see the I can't see the connection there that justifies the Inspector General.
Places.
You know.
All right, Rotus, let's venture into some. Let us venture
Well.
into capital at this moment. Venture capital. Former governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai, is getting to start up a company with about $100 million US. What are the challenges he could face in this regard?
Well, he's a politically exposed person, so you know, anybody who wants to invest in that fund will probably think about that. He's representing a state that has had issues with insecurity. So anyone who wants to, although you know, they were doing CAD Invest, which was a forum, an annual investment forum that they say was attracting at least some interest in investing in Kaduna. So him being politically exposed, the security issues in Kaduna could pose challenges for any potential investor. Well, that doesn't mean the fund is going to be exclusively focused on Kaduna, but you know, I would assume he would want elsewhere. But those would be the challenges that would come to mind.
But for the listener who want to understand it, just a quick one, a 101, what exactly is the venture capital? What is it exactly about?
He wants to invest in startups. So there was this awesome story I saw of in the Singapore, National University of Singapore, where these two young men, we talked about it on the marketplace yesterday. One's a 23-year-old, one is a 26-year-old. They had a friend who had a toilet cleaning company. He had staff that cleans toilets. And for some reason, he ran out of staff on one particular day, not sure if they were sick or what. So the owner of the business had to go clean the toilets himself, right? So, you know, you have to keep your business alive, right? So they said, okay, well, what if we made a robot that could clean toilets instead of you having to use staff? So they developed this prototype, and it is going to be commercially tested in the first quarter of next year. So the National University of Singapore has a fund in association with the Ministry of Trade and Investment in Singapore to support startups that have new ideas, and to the tune of almost $100,000. And these guys now have a prototype, an actual, you know, robots that cleans toilets. So venture capital with Mr. El-Rufai is saying that he wants to support startups across Nigeria, fund innovative ideas. They then, you know, with the money they put in, if the fund or whatever it is they support goes public or makes money, they get their money back later on. So can he fund innovative ideas in Kaduna across the country with that kind of money? That's the move.
All right, we've got some messages coming through. Let's start off with this one. I can't see a name here. Okay, Babatunde. He says, Lagos speaks more but acts less. On the waste side, Lagos could make a whole lot. All they need to do is reorganize the waste management agency and deliberately invest in transforming waste to wealth for income generation. Our delegation at COP28 is somewhat a waste in my opinion. We've only attended a trade fair without a product to project. Let's assume they have just headed for a holiday with taxpayers' money. All right. Tayo says there are images of the police barracks at Ikeja showing its deplorable conditions, but to travel out of Nigeria and take pictures is better. I like how you guys are brainstorming on the police keying into the environment. Fire, is that fine? Oluboroko says, many Nigerians are still struggling to put food on the table, and some are talking about reducing methane emissions. Isn't it money that will be used to execute this project? Except the UN will be the sponsor, it will be a difficult one. Yeah.
And comes in Yinka Bolu says, eat less meat. Are these guys okay at all? Same folks investing in research on how to plant meat, police using electric vehicles. How have they maintained the rickety ones they're using now? Or you want them to electrocute themselves, Abby? That's if they aspire anyway. But then, and guys, what do we do about the folks piling waste on the roadside? Shout out to El-Rufai. That's El-Rufai for daring to go back into private space. Can we say the same about Amechi or Dino, Fayose, Abeg? good one for him.
Well said. Well said. Let's see how it goes. Let's see if he raises that $100 million. A lot of money.
All right. Well, that is it for Business Express this morning. Thank you for listening. And thanks, Rotus, for being on the show as well.
Thank you, guys. See you guys tomorrow.